Hello and welcome to a new Vanguard Zero video. So today I'm going to be talking about the Clash of Kings 2, the second one, and what it is, the strategy I'm going to be implementing, the decks I'm going to be using, so on and so forth. So what is the Clash of Kings 2? Well, it's a sequel to the Clash of Kings. I'm sure you could probably figure that out on your own. What is the Clash of Kings? Well, it was a tournament that took place a little while ago, and it was an invitational between different Cardfight Vanguard Zero content creators set up by Vision. If you're seeing this video right as it's uploaded, that means the event is either about to start or it has already just started. So I will have links and stuff in the description so you can watch various different live streams of it. So, the thing that made the first Clash of Kings really interesting was that it was a best of 3. So basically the first person to get 2 wins within a round would win that round. But what made it interesting was it was a 2-deck format. This meant that you would enter with 2 decks, and then you'd play with one, and then once you win with that one, you switch over to a second and have to win with that second. What made this interesting is it stopped anyone from relying on just using one deck to blitz through the entire tournament and win. You had to be good with 2 decks, not just one, to do well in the tournament. Now, with Clash of Kings 2, there's an extra rule on top of that that makes things even spicier, I guess, and more interesting, because anyone who has kept up with Cardfight Vanguard Zero will realize that in the current format, the 3 best decks by far, or at least the most commonly used and commonly agreed upon to be best, are Majesty Lord Blaster, Dragonic Overlord The End, and Shadow Paladin. Those are the most popular decks right now because they get wins easy. If you play those 3 decks, then you will get wins. So, we're sticking with the 2-deck format. However, only one of those 2 decks is allowed to be the aforementioned Majesty Lord Blaster, Dragonic Overlord The End, or Shadow Paladin. So you may run one of those 3 decks, but only one of them. You can't just rely on 2 of the 3. Your second deck has to be an abnormal deck, a less common deck, still a good deck, just not the most overused decks. And I think that makes things really interesting, because now you have to win with a lesser used deck. And what makes things even more interesting, is that you enter the decks in any order. So you could go with your high tier commonly used of the 3 decks first, and then the other one, or you could go the other way around, which makes for some interesting matchups. Now, what strategy am I going to be implementing? Well, first of all, this is a fun tournament, right? We've done this once before, and I think the best thing about the tournament overall is that it's just a nice, fun, chill sort of event, where the Vanguard community can hang out together, get to know each other, card fight each other, and it's a really good thing for the community as a whole. I think it's something that everyone should be watching, taking part in, etc, etc, because whilst there are prizes and stuff on the line, that's not really the point. The point is having fun and learning about other people in the Vanguard Zero community. I think Vanguard as a whole benefits from these tournaments because it's the content creators and stuff taking part, which feels weird to say because, of course, I've been invited, so someone made a mistake there, I guess. Someone made a mistake twice in a row. That person should get fired. I'm joking. But yeah, it's a fun little event that I'm not taking too seriously. Of course, some wins would be appreciated, but I'm more there to stir up the pot, basically, and you'll understand what I mean by that when we get into my strategy. So, anyone who's been following me for a little while will probably realize that out of those 3 decks, the one I'm leaning towards the most are Shadow Paladins. I've been slowly over time building a Shadow Paladin deck. However, you'll be surprised to learn, well, maybe not so surprised to learn, but because of Angel Feathers, yeah, Angel Feathers, whatever, because of the Angel Feathers, I haven't actually been building the Shadow Paladin deck all too quickly. I'll take a quick look at it here to kind of show you the progress I've been making, but you'll be surprised to learn that that is not the deck I've chosen. So, confirmed deck, basically, it's alright, you know, it can actually get some wins. I've played a couple ranked matches here and there, and it does get results. It is good. Even budget Shadow Paladin is still Shadow Paladin. Paladin. I'm tripping over my words again. Why is this the thing I do? Why is the thing I'm known for talking over Vanguard 0 when I can barely play Vanguard 0 and I can barely talk, am I right? Let alone do both at the same time. But anyway, basically, most people who are entering Shadow Paladin will probably have playsets of every triple rare and have a fully built Shadow Paladin deck. So it didn't make sense to me to go against them with a budget version. So I'm not going for Shadow Paladin. But even more surprisingly, I'm not going for Magical Blaster or Draconic Overlord at the end either. See, that's the key phrasing, and I've actually, you know, confirmed this and submitted my deck, and this is true. You may use one of those three. See, everyone is probably default immediately went, okay, I'm submitting one of those three, but what I've realized is that you don't have to. See, the rule is that you can't use 2 of the 3. There's no rule saying you have to use 1 of the 3. You can use 0 of the 3. And of course, that's probably got you thinking, what is he going for here? And I'm going for, like I said, an interesting, fun tournament, basically. I'm there to stir up the pot. So, a little while ago, I uploaded a video where I spent quite a lot of gems to build a Nectar deck day 1, within the first day of it going up. And I got some comments understandably confused. Why would you spend so many gems to get a runnable deck day 1 when you're saving up for Angel Feathers and everything? Why not just wait it out? You know, this event lasts for quite a while, right? It lasts for around about 2 weeks. Why not, you know, take your time, pace yourself, build the deck slowly over time, and that way you'll be able to get the deck by spending far less gems. And that's true. But I can't afford to take my time because this was my plan this entire time. I've known about this tournament for quite a while now, and I've known exactly when it was happening for quite a while now. And basically, I figured out this tournament will be happening only around about 1 day after the event drops. Less than 2 days at the very most. So, what if that was my plan? See, Nectar is not an amazing clan by any means. It's not awful. It's pretty mid-tier, I would say. It's not bad. It's not particularly amazing. But what about this? So, when you're taking part in a tournament, especially as a content creator, there's a lot of stresses that come along with that. There's the anxiety of wanting to perform well. There's the stress of making sure that you're able to actually stream and record all these card fights and stuff and juggle all that, right? There's the tournament anxiety. There's actually working on videos and streams and stuff and balancing that. Getting streams to actually run successfully is already difficult, especially when you're trying to card fight at the best of your performance. Basically, what I mean by this is my strategy is to play mind games with my opponents. My opponents are probably expecting me to send out a Magical Blaster deck or a Shadow Paladin deck or whatever, and they're going to be thrown off guard massively when they see me send this deck out instead. That's my plan. And I think that there's going to be so many different factors that my opponents will be taking into account and trying to think about, that something like this could genuinely throw them off guard enough that I can get an easy win in. Will this plan work? I don't know. But that's why I'm doing it, because I want to find out. See, the thing with Nectar is, like I said, it's been out for less than 2 days now. Which means that my opponents will not have very much time to have prepared against it. In fact, most of my opponents probably wouldn't have even considered it as a possibility. Meaning that if my opponents have any blind spots in their research, any blind spots in their strategy, this is probably it. Most of my opponents probably wouldn't have even considered this as a possibility, and so wouldn't have even known to prepare against it. Even opponents who have played the Japanese version, so will have had time spent with Nectar, probably wouldn't have even considered this and still will be thrown off guard regardless. And people who have only played the global version probably wouldn't have had any experience with Nectar, if any. Basically meaning that if there's any way of getting a free win with an underpowered deck, this is it. Why did I spend so many gems trying to get a runnable Nectar deck day one? This is the reason why. Has anyone else thought of this too? I think someone else has. There's someone else taking part who I think has the same strategy as me, so that kind of puts a hole in my strategy. But hey, will it work? Will it not? I guess we'll see. But to me, running Nectar instead of Magical Blaster intentionally, because I think it will be funny, that's a very me strategy to do, and I think that's the kind of thing you come to me for, right? So that's my strategy. But of course, 2-deck format. So if that's my Magical Blaster kind of deck, you know, if that's the deck I'm using instead of those top 3 decks, and the thing I've been planning this entire time, what's my second deck going to be? Well, fairly obvious answer, Dark Irregulars. So, previous Clash of Kings, I actually relied pretty heavily on Spike Bros, because I really like Spike Bros, and I didn't perform too well with Dark Irregulars. Those were the 2 decks I used. And so you'd probably expect me for this pick to go for Spike Bros instead. The problem is Spike Bros aren't that great anymore, because the current format, the current meta really exploits Spike Bros weaknesses. I don't think they can't do well. I think they totally could. In fact, if anyone could prove that it could, it's living proof, and I think he's competing. So that's going to be fun to see, but yeah, I thought it wasn't really worth my time or effort or energy to do Spike Bros. I will definitely be returning to them once Jelly Beans and the like have been released. But I thought I would stick to Dark Irregulars and really learn them and get them nailed down and improve upon the faults I had with them last time. And this is where, well, anyone who's seen one of my fairly popular recent videos will start to have the gears in their head turn. Basically, Still Vampire is a counter to Magical Blaster, just straight up. Is he a good counter? Not really, he's more of a gimmick card, but he is a counter, and any counter to the best deck in the game right now is a counter worth trying out. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, Still Vampire's Mega Blast allows you to ride one of your opponent's rare guards on top of their Vanguard for 1 turn. And then after that turn is up, your opponent rides their original Vanguard back up again. Or anything in their soul, but 9 times out of 10 it's going to be their original Vanguard. Now, why is this useful? Well, it's useful because it gets rid of Magical Blaster's extra crit. Because he gains that crit from sending out a Blaster Blade and a Blaster Dark and absorbing those 2 cards into his soul. And he gets that somewhat permanently, but that permanently is broken when he gets put into the soul. And so when he gets ridden back out to be the Vanguard again, he gets that crit taken away from him. And so for my opponent to get that crit back, the crit that's kind of the centerpiece of the deck in the win condition, by the way, they have to get another Blaster Blade and another Blaster Dark out, which late game is almost impossible to do. I mean, it's definitely doable, but it's very, very difficult. And so because of that, Still Vampire is actually a perfectly viable counter to Magical Blaster. Is he the best card in the world? No. Is he very temperamental and difficult to set up? Yes. You basically have to go throughout the entire game without counterblasting, and hedge all of your bets on being able to pull this off successfully. But if you can, you might win. In fact, if you can, it's probably your best bet of beating Magic Lord Blaster. And so that's my strategy. Now, of course, this only works against Magic Lord Blaster. What about other decks? What about Draconic Overlord the End, Shadow Paladin, or just any other deck the opponent decides to use? Well, I'm just going to stick to my good old strategy. And what is the good old strategy? You send out Amon and you nuke their field. Now, of course, the problem with Amon nuking your field is that, yes, it also nukes my field too. I need to give up one of my rare guards to get rid of one of theirs. But if you're running those 9 draws and you manage to pull them and you manage to get that draw power and you use the nuking wisely and only use it on units that need to be nuked, a lot of the time that's good enough. And if you need that, and if you really need that offensive push, then you've got Death Anchor's extra crit when you have 5 damage, and you have Edel Rose's extra crit when you counterblast. So basically, if I'm going against Magic Lord Blaster, I'm going to still Vampire them. If I'm going against any other deck, I'm going to use a combination of Amon, Edel Rose, and Death Anchor. And the cool thing is, Death Anchor still works pretty well with Still Vampire anyway, because you can still use Still Vampire on the rare guard and activate his ability. And Death Anchor's ability doesn't require you to counterblast. It just requires you to have 5 cards in your damage zone. So you can still use those 2 cards in tandem with each other. Basically meaning it's not the best strategy in the world, but it's actually not a bad strategy either. It's one that on paper sounds like it could work. It's certainly a more solid strategy than the one I had going in previously, which was nothing. My previous strategy was just send out a bunch of grade 3s, hope I can swing some good hits, basically. I really wasn't familiar with my Dark Irregulars very much when the previous tournament happened. That was very much my weaker deck. That's the cool thing about this tournament. You have to be familiar with and good with 2 decks to actually do well. And at the time, I was only really good with my Spike Bros and not my Dark Irregulars. So, to recap, those are the 2 decks I'm using. That's the strategy I'm going with. I will indeed be recording my card fights and loading them afterwards. I know I've been pretty bad at recording and uploading tournament fights and stuff up until this point, and I'm gonna try and get better at that, so please bear with me. I do apologize. But even then, I'm sure that some of the people I fight against will be live streaming or recording and so on and so forth anyway, so you'll be able to find my card fights even if that doesn't happen, right? Which it will. I promise this time. I'll get on it. But basically, yeah, my strategy is bamboozle them and throw them off guard with my Neo Nectar deck. Yes, I haven't had much time to practice with my Neo Nectar deck myself, which is a pretty gaping, massive hole in my strategy. But I'm hoping I can still use that deck to my advantage anyway. And then Dark Irregulars, basically still Vampire, Magic Lord Blaster, and then Amon everything else. Is this going to get me the win? Am I going to come in first in the tournament? I highly doubt it, but I feel like even if I get nothing but losses, hopefully they'll at least be interesting to watch losses that we can learn a lot from. We can finally fully test out the extent to which Still Vampire's usefulness is, and we can see if bamboozling and throwing an enemy off guard is actually enough of a strategy to work. Now, of course, my biggest nightmare is that everyone else has the same idea as me, and everyone else is also running Neo Nectar, which is a possibility. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I know at least one other person who's going to be doing the same. So, I'm not going to give away their name, because I don't want to accidentally ruin their strategy, just in case. I'm playing the rules fairly. I'm willingly giving away my strategy here, so any opponent who manages to watch this video before they go against me, feel free to use this info against me. I don't mind. You have my permission. But I don't want to ruin anyone else's strategy just in case, because I think that's unfair. So yeah, that's my plan. That's my strategy. The Clash of Kings tournament, it's going to be fun. I'll put links in the description. You'll be able to watch the tournament live and everything. But yeah, that's my strategy. Feel free to mock me in the comments and go, why didn't you just build Magical Blaster? But again, finish the sentence, saving up for Angel Feather. Yep. And the cool thing is, and this isn't really related to the rest of the video, we're getting close. We're less than a season away now. So that's fun. So that big story arc, I guess, of my videos is finally going to come to a close soon, huh? So yeah, see you later with more Vanguard Zero videos. Definitely be sure to check out the tournament. It's a lot of fun. A lot of big Vanguard YouTubers going to be involved in it, just like they were last time. And I hope you enjoy. So see you later with some more Vanguard Zero content. Be sure to like and subscribe and so on and so forth. You don't need me to remind you this stuff, but YouTube yells at me when I don't, so I have to say it anyway. So see you later with some more Vanguard Zero content. And I'm still bad at doing outros. See ya.